Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm going today to introduce the CKA exam. Thank you so much for the views on my previous video about the Terraform certification. So today we'll go through the CKA exam. Fortunately, I passed it on my first attempt, and I want to mention that I never had experience with Kubernetes before. So the CKA was my first time with the Kubernetes. So I will provide you with all the resources that I use, so the result will be the same for you as well. So let's get started. So what I'm going to cover today is how the exam looks like, what's the CKA about, what resources I used, what tips that can be learned from my experience, and what are the topics that you need to focus on the most. First of all, what does the exam look like? First of all, it's online and it's 2 hours of duration, and all the tasks are not questions or multiple choices. It's hand-on tasks. So you have a lab, and you will receive tasks. Do this, do that. It's gonna be between 15 and 20. For my case, it was 17 tasks that I need to finish. The language is the English language. I believe it's not offered in another language, but I'm not sure of that. The expiration date of the exam is 2 years. The passing score is 66%. The level, as I see it, is from associate to professional. I don't believe it's for beginners. Expiration, I mentioned it just again. And for the price is $395 USD. Please note that most of the cases you will find a discount. Like the minimum discount that you will find is 20% of that price. So always look for discounts before buying the voucher. Note that the voucher that you get contains some features. The first of all, it's valid for 365 days. So if I buy the voucher today, I have 365 days, so I can book the exams during that year. The second thing is you will have included with the voucher two sessions and sandbox with the Killer Shell mock exams. So you will have the opportunity to do a mock exam. Something else which is really important and really cool, which is the free retake. So in case you fail the first attempt, you will have a free retake, so you can pass it again. Also note that there are 24 hours that you need to pay attention to. First of all, like it's not like in-person view. You can book the exam anytime you want. For CKA, it needs to be at least 24 hours. So they provide and prepare the resources for you. The second thing, you cannot cancel the exam if it's less than 24 hours of the start of the exam. The third thing is after you finish the exam, the result will be typically within 24 hours after the completion. For my case, it was like 20 hours. I saw some other people, they are telling like it's 8 hours, 4 hours. However, it should be like within 24 hours of the end of the exam. So I will just provide like a really basic explanation about what's Kubernetes. So let's like assume that this is a house. The house is our server. So this is how things started. So people, they were like hosting their services and their websites on the server directly. After that, things got developed and they start using the VMs, virtual machines. And the virtual machines in our house is like the floors or the apartments. So each apartment is for specific service or for specific like website. When we talk about the container, which is one step ahead, is the room. Like when you are using the services not in apartment but in room. What's the difference between having your own room or you having your own apartment, but you are sharing the rooms, all the rooms of the apartment? It's the kitchen or the bathroom, it's shared. The same thing in container. The container was shared when we talk about the VM in a container is the operating system. The container is using the same operating system as the dedicated server. However, for the VM, it has its own operating system. When we come to the Kubernetes is what's managing everything. So when we have multiple containers on our server, the Kubernetes is the one that manages those containers. That will give you an overview, and you will be able to edit and add and modify the containers on your server. And it's the same thing if you have multiple houses. The Kubernetes or the concierge, the one who is taking care of those rooms or those apartments, is the Kubernetes. We'll be able to look all the servers together. So this is just small idea. I don't say that this idea will allow you to pass the exam. However, you should be able to learn more and more when you go through how I prepared for the exam. So this is just a really basic explanation for anybody who doesn't have any idea about what's Kubernetes. So what resources I used to prepare? So as I said, I had no idea what Kubernetes is, what's Docker. So I start from scratch. So first of all, your friend here is Cloud website. This platform is really like well maintained and it's well up to date. So I really recommend it, and I don't see any other competitor in the market now to CloudCloud, honestly, especially when we talk about the CKA. So the first steps, like from 1 to 4, are all with CloudCloud. So the first thing you will do, the Docker for Absolute Beginner course. So you learn about the Docker from the basics of the basics, and then you will go to do the same thing with Kubernetes for absolute beginners. And after that, you will go to this 23 hours course, Certified Kubernetes Administrator. It has a lot of labs and also it has practice tests at the end. So when you complete these 3, you will go forward the ultimate Certified Kubernetes Administrator mock exam series. So in this series, you will have 5 mock exams, and I do believe that they are like really close to what you will see in the exam. It's a little bit harder, however, it's closer than the mock exam of Killer Shell. So for the first and the second and the third, you can find them on Udemy. Honestly, I recommend you to get them from Udemy better than CloudCloud, because it's cheaper. And however, for the fourth course, you will not be able to find it on Udemy, so you need to buy it from CloudCloud. So after you finish those 4 steps with CloudCloud, I'm pretty sure you are more than ready for the exam. So when you go to the Killer Shell, which is, as I said, it's this mock exam is provided with the voucher that you buy. It's really hard. It's 2 to 3 times harder than the reality. Even those of CloudCloud are harder. So imagine how hard is the Killer Shell. So I will just mention some tips how you can do with this course here, because this is the most important for me, honestly. Because when I studied this, it was just studying and practicing some simple tests. However, when I went to the mock exam, I started realizing what I'm not understanding, what I'm not clear for me, especially when you have 2 terms that are really close to each other. So always when you do a task on the 4th course of the mock exams of CloudCloud, try to understand why your answer was correct or why your answer was wrong. So in both cases, try to understand why and go deeply in it. So use that question as a reference for you to start learning and maximize your understanding of each concept. So what key topics to focus on? Honestly, what's mentioned here, you will see it for sure on the exam. So the backup and restore of the etcd service, upgrading clusters. Sometimes they ask about the master, sometimes about the worker nodes, and the persistent volume climbs, the pods, deployments and duplicate sets, services, ingress and network policies. Try to make sure that you know what the differences and what the use case of each of the 3. The JSON path, how to use them and get comfortable with them. Also the service accounts, roles bindings, cluster roles and cluster role bindings. Honestly, what I noticed between the mock exam and the real exam, sometimes like in the mock exam, you will find asking you to create a persistent volume and the persistent volume climb. So the PV and the PVC. However, on the exam, I noticed that the PV is already created. So it's asking you just to go for the PVC. So that's the difference between the mock exams and the real exam. Sometimes a task on the mock exam is 3 tasks in the real exam. So that's just to have an idea what's the differences between the 2. So finally, I'm going to mention about the life-saving tips. These tips are really important. No matter how you study, if you don't apply those tips, you will fail your exam. I guarantee that from now. Just be prepared for it. Make sure to manage your time. The time is your enemy. If you are well prepared, but you are taking long time to do the tasks, you will end up in the half of the questions by the end of the time. So try to manage your time properly and smartly. The second thing, try to copy and paste. Never rely on typing the name of the resources. Imagine that you do the task correctly. However, just since the name of the resource is not correct, you will not get the grade, So make sure to copy and paste and get used how to copy and paste on the shell. It's not the same as you are on Windows. The third thing is read carefully and pay attention to the questions. Sometimes they are asking you to do the question on specific name server, but you didn't pay attention to you are doing it to the default one, so you don't get the grade. The same thing for the service account and the ingress. Make sure of what's exactly asking you to do. The fourth tip is master checking tools and commands. Like when we talk, for example, about making the node up to date, troubleshooting the etcd. Try always to master how to check you are doing the task. How can I check that I did it correctly? How I can check that I'm in the right name server, the right name, the right specification that I asked for. So these checking tools and commands are really vital in the exam. For example, for the service counts, you can check with, for example, for kubectl authentication CKA, you will be able to see if you are able to do the task or not. So finally, I will just finish with my thoughts about the exam. So honestly, for me, it was like a hard exam, to be honest. And this one of the rare exams that we can say that they reflect exactly your level. Like for other exams, like you can like memorize the question and stuff. However, for the CKA, it really tells if you are mastering what you are doing or not. This is the first thing. The second thing is, honestly, like before I started preparing for the exam, I thought it's really above me, you know. I need to study a lot. I need to work with it. Honestly, it's needed. However, make sure to practice and practice and practice to overcome this issue. So for you, if you are hardworking, so go to the practice exams and like know exactly what they are about. Try to practice them over and over again. And after that, you will be able to pass the exam if God wills. So these are my ideas about the exam. These are my experience and my tips for you about the exam. I hope they were helpful for you, and please subscribe to the channel to motivate me to do more videos. And I hope you will write to me a comment later telling me that you passed the exam because of these tips. Thank you so much and have a good day.